Top 10 books I read in 2023. The Genocides by Thomas Dish. Probably haven't heard too much of Thomas Dish. He's one of my favorite authors. Had a unique writing style, very broad ability. He wrote poetry, he wrote fiction, nonfiction, adventure stories, children's book. He wrote The Brave Little Toaster. I mean, come on. Thomas Dish wrote quite a bit, horror novels, things like that. And this is a good kind of blend of sci-fi, a little bit of horror, end of the world type thing. The Earth is, Earth is taking over, sort of. I don't want to ruin it for you, but it is just a solid book. Some difficult subjects and things like that, but really enjoyable. I read this back in January, and it has stuck with me since then, so that's why it's made it to the top of the list. Is Kindred by Octavia Butler. I read this one recently. So good. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. It was very enjoyable, very difficult to read, had some just extremely difficult subject matter in it, but ultimately just highly enjoyable. The characters are so natural and believable. The conversations, things like that. There's some goofy choices sometimes, but really just a solid book. And if you can handle the subject matter, it is one that I highly recommend. Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. I was so surprised. I didn't think I was going to enjoy this one as much as I did. I don't think I've ever read a book that uses the word fart in it as much as this one did, but it was so fun. Really just a good military sci-fi book that is extremely well written. And I haven't read any of the other ones yet. I've heard that some of the other ones are even better, but this one, I was thoroughly captivated. I loved every minute of it. I thought it was an extremely well-written story. I know kind of the background of how it started out and Orson Scott Card's kind of beginning as a writer and how this came to be, and that kind of added to the story too. So very good. Highly recommend. It's a pretty clean book for the most part, so decent for like a YA novel or something like that. If you're a younger reader, it is a good one that you can read and enjoy. All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi. He's a Russian guy. Hiroshi Sakurazaka. All You Need Is Kill. This is where we get the movie Edge of Tomorrow from, with Tom Cruise and Emily Blunt. Very good book. Extremely enjoyable. The idea, everything about it I loved. Just the feel of the book, the atmosphere, everything. It just drew me in right away, and I couldn't put it down. And so if you love sci-fi, if you've enjoyed like Edge of Tomorrow the movie, you will really enjoy this book, I believe. Pet Sematary. Man, I love this book. I've talked about it a few times on my top Stephen King list and when I read it and all that stuff. It is just such an enjoyable read for me. It is a dark, kind of deep book. It's a dark, difficult read sometimes, but I love the story. I did listen to this one on a trip that I took, and it was read on audiobook by Michael C. Hall, the guy who plays Dexter. He did such a good job. It was so enjoyable to listen to and go through. So this one is up there on the list, number 6, Stephen King's Pet Sematary. The Martian by Andy Weir. I absolutely love this book. I know some people hated on it. I don't get it. I loved it. Reminded me of John Scalzi's writing, just that witty, sarcastic, snarky type conversation and witty banter and stuff like that. I loved it. I loved every bit of it. I totally nerded out on it and had fun. It was so good. I love the movie too. I think Matt Damon did a fantastic job, and they captured the essence of the book, I think, really, really, really well. Just a solid read for me. The Cipher by Kathy Koja. This book is weird, really weird, and her writing is weird, really weird, and it was hard to read, really hard at first. I don't know why I just did that, but it was so unique and different and strange, and I read this back in January also, and it has stuck with me since January. Not a lot of books do that, where they just resonate with you for a year, and you're kind of comparing other books to this book, and you're thinking about this book when you're reading something else, and it's like it's like a basis for certain things. I don't know, it was just so good for me. I really enjoyed it. It was definitely, I'm sure, not for everybody, but it's a solid read if you're into kind of horror or just dark, disturbing reads. I think you'll like it. Altered Carbon. I love this book so much. It was so good. I can't believe how good it was. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. I'm surprised that this isn't praised as much as it, I would think this would be like more talked about or get more praise than it does. I don't hear about it very much. I hear about Neuromancer pretty much all the time, and I thought this was 1,000 times better than Neuromancer. It was so much more enjoyable. Solid book. If you've seen the Netflix show, the first season, not the second season, if you've seen the first season, it really is close to the book. I think they took a good amount of time and actually tried to capture the book very well, and I think they did a really good job. Super good. One of my favorites of the year, obviously. My second favorite book of the year, and it was very hard to not put this one at number one, but ultimately I had to drop it down a peg. It is It by Stephen King. Man, this book is good. I love Stephen King, and right now this is my favorite of his. I love everything about this book. Every little bit. Every little aspect of this book. I was 100% engaged in it. I couldn't wait to read it. I was excited to get home. I was, like, you're just anticipating your read, and you can't just, like, it's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit later. It was like, when can I read? I need to read right now. I need this book. Where I gotta, I think I might quit work right now just to go. No, I just couldn't wait to read it. I loved it. It was so good. If you've seen the movies, obviously you know the premise. It is, I love everything about it. I love the movies. I love all of it. Pennywise is such just an incredible villain. It is really good. And my number one book of the year, the book I pretty much compare all other sci-fi books to, the book that made me realize that I really love this genre of sci-fi. I have thought about this book probably like on a regular basis since I read it in January. Old Man's War by John Scalzi. I absolutely love this book. I love everything about it. It is phenomenal to me. It is one of the best sci-fi books I've ever read. I don't know what it is. His writing style, his voice that he uses, the humor. I'm laughing when reading this book. I'm like cracking up and chuckling out loud when I'm reading this book because of just how sarcastic and funny and snarky this guy is. And I loved it. I loved everything about it. It is a military sci-fi. It is so fun. The idea is that when people reach a certain age, they can enlist in the military, and they have no idea what happens after they enlist. They everybody who's done it never comes home again. And everybody has these ideas of what's going to happen. Like, if I enlist, I'm going to get a brand new body, and I'm going to get this, and I'm going to be, like rejuvenated to my youth. I'm going to, be young again, and they have all these ideas, but nobody ultimately knows. And so, the main character, he kind of signs up for it and says, okay, when I turn 75, I think it's 75, then I enlist, and then we'll see what happens. And I was so excited reading it. I couldn't imagine like there being anything better. It was so good. It made me feel like I was watching a movie in my head while I was reading it and enjoying every bit of the movie. And I've heard that Netflix had said that they were going to make a movie out of this. I think it's been like pushed off like 3 or 4 times and picked up by different directors and different producers, and it's kind of been thrown around. I really hope they make a movie. I think it'll be so good, but it's good enough to watch in your head while you're reading it. It's that good. So that is my list for the year. Holy cow, I got a lot of editing to do. Appreciate you guys. Stay tuned for some more book hauls, some more, review videos, things like that. What I read each month, I'll go over. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you guys. Catch you on the next one.